Hello students, in this video we will review an important method what we call as aerodynamic method of estimation of evaporation that will account for the potential present in air by the difference by the virtue of difference of vapor pressure. And to do that, let us consider a surface of water, and this surface of water is in contact with air, and we can assume that in vicinity of this layer of water we have the condition of saturation here, or we can say that vapor pressure is near to saturation at given temperature T degree Celsius. Then as we go higher above the surface, we would encounter air which would be at some vapor pressure which is definitely different than saturation if relative humidity is less than 100%, and we say that it is EA. And if we know the relative humidity, we can easily calculate the value of EA, as we know that relative humidity is ratio of EA upon EAS, and if it is expressed in percentage, of course it is 100. Also, we learned that as we go up, the velocity profile looks something like this. So velocity, it increases as we go up, and if velocity, so it's not a linear behavior, it's some curvilinear behavior. So if velocity increases in upward direction, we also learned that the momentum, the transfer can be calculated using the equation of Newton's law of viscosity, which says that this tau is equal to minus rho a km du by dz. And here, if we are talking about the mode of transport as convection, this is the constant which we also called as momentum diffusivity coefficient. Rho a is the density of air, and du by dz is the gradient of velocity. Since this is in positive direction, that would mean that negative sign makes sure that the transfer of momentum always takes place from the higher velocity areas to lower velocity area. So momentum transfer will be in downward direction. Similarly, we have written this tau. We also learned we can write the diffusivity of mass, and in this case we can say that mass transfer rate of water vapors is governed by a similar equation where we have rho a kW, and instead of du by dz we would use the concentration of mass of water vapors, which in turn is encapsulated in the term dw by dz, where w or omega is our specific humidity. And as we go above the lake surface, you can very well imagine that the concentration of water vapors just closer to surface would be higher, and it would decrease as we go away from the surface, and hence we would have the gradient or negative gradient as we go upwards. That is, if we represent z or vertical height here and the value of omega along x-axis, it would decrease as we will go upward. Now we will use these two relationships and let us try to take a ratio. So if we write m dot v upon tau, this comes out to be minus rho a kw d omega upon dz into and then it would be divided by minus rho a km, and then we would have here dz can go here, and in denominator we can have du. So this cancels out. So m star v upon tau comes out to be kw by km into dw by du. And if we are talking about two different heights, we can easily write this dw as this would remain constant kw km. This can be written as w2 minus w1, and this would be u2 minus u1. And we can again write mv star as tau times kw upon km omega 2 minus omega 1 u2 minus u1. Now let us take a look at this equation from practical point. We can always calculate what is W2, W1, U2, U1, and let us say that the values of constants are known, and later on we would find that some scientists through series of experiments showed that the values of Kw and Km are so close that we can always approximate this ratio to be 1. So ultimately the question remains, while everything else can be determined, determining value of tau is going to be hard in real world setup, because whenever we are going to measure the evaporation, we have to do that in a field setting or in a laboratory setting. And the question arises how we are directly going to measure tau when our observations are either in form of temperature or in form of pressure, from where we can calculate specific humidity, relative humidity. So let us focus to identify the simplified expression of tau. Now, if you recall, we also learned that this tau can be written as u star, which is equal to ratio of mod of tau upon rho a. Now the question arises, why I am introducing this mode of tau. If you look at the velocity diagram, always increases as we go up above in the surface. That would mean that the direction of momentum transfer, it has to be downwards. So if you look at this equation and we have to take a square root here, if tau is actually a negative quantity, and it is always going to be a negative quantity if we define our directions of z as positive upwards and negative downwards. So to make sure that under root is always defined and we are not dealing with imaginary values, it's preferred to take this in the mod term so that sign at the end remains consistent, which implies we can write our tau mod as u star rho a, and tau then can u star square rho a, because if I remove the square root, so tau can be written as plus minus u star square rho a. Now I know that this tau is indeed equal to the shear stress or rate of momentum transfer. So I can safely say that since this quantity is always negative, if I am taking z as positive in upward direction, I should retain the negative sign and say that my tau is indeed equal to minus u star square rho a. And if you recall, we also discussed this result in our module 2, so you can quickly go back and revise that what this tau indeed means in this notation of rho a and u star. Now if this is clear, we also know the equation for the velocity, that is, if you have to write the velocity at any height z1, we can say u1 is equal to u star upon k ln z minus zd upon z naught. And you also solved one numerical in your assignment 2 exactly related to this expression. At any other point, we can write u2 as u star upon k ln z minus zd upon z naught. So if I have to take a difference of u2 minus u1, because if you go back to this expression, I am going behind this denominator also, u2 minus u1, I am also going behind this tau. So I can write this u2 minus u1 as u star k ln z. So here we should have z1, here we should have z2. So this can be written as z2 minus z1, or sorry, this would be written as z2 minus zd upon z0 minus ln z1 minus zd upon z0. Since this is log of a minus log of b, we can write u2 minus u1 as u star k ln z2 minus zd divided by z1 minus zd. Now when we were dealing with plants, the value of zd was very clear to us that we can determine based on the area, based on the plant growth. But when we are directly dealing with this water surfaces, for in simplified expression, we can put this zd to be 0. That is, we can say that the plane of zero displacement is very close to the surface, and hence u2 minus u1 can be approximated by u star upon k ln z2 upon z1. Now this is going to be another helpful expression for us. Also, we saw that our u star now can be written as u2 minus u1 into k divided by ln z2 upon z1, which implies that we can write this tau as minus of u2 minus u1 square k square ln z2 upon z1 square, because we learned that our tau is given by minus rho a u star square, and then we will multiply it by rho a. We have already accounted for a minus sign here. Now what we will do here, we have finally calculated the value of tau, which we were going behind in this expression of mv dot, which is rate change of mass of water vapors in the system. And you recall that if we can estimate what is the mass of vapor that has been added, we can easily relate it to E, which we also did in our previous method of energy balance. So now what we will do, we will substitute this tau in our expression of mv dot. So let me copy paste it so that we don't get lost anywhere. So this is what we derived. We will substitute it here, and we can write mv dot as minus of u2 minus u1 square k square rho a omega 2 minus omega 1 divided by u2 minus u1, and this will be divided by ln z2 upon z1. This is the square of entire quantity, so we can always subtract this u2 minus u1. So mv star can mv dot, rate of change of mass of vapors with respect to time, can be written as k square rho a. If negative goes inside, this quantity is w1 minus w2 into u2 minus u1 ln z2 upon z1. Now there is an important question that arises, how we should calculate the values of w1 and w2. So w1 is w1 can be written as 0.622 E upon P, and this is in Pascal, and this would be E1, and W2 can be written as 0.622 E2 upon P. Again, this is in Pascal. Since we can assume that we have not traveled significant distance going from this surface of water to the air above it, the pressure or atmospheric pressure can be assumed to be fairly same, since we are still near to the Earth's surface and we have not traveled kilometers into the atmosphere. And hence we can substitute m star v as k square rho a into 0.622 divided by p EAS minus EA, which is the vapor pressure at saturation at given temperature minus actual vapor pressure of the air, multiply by U2 minus U1 upon log of Z2 Z1, and of course I think I missed one square here, so we should have this square borrowed from here, so we'll write square here. And we know that if we know the surface temperature, EAS can be calculated as 611 exponential 17.27 T 237.3 plus T. And if we use 611, this would be in Pascal. If you use 0.611, it would be in kilopascal. Now you see that all the knowledge that we have gained in our previous lectures, how it is coming together and helping us estimate something that is of directly of engineering relevance when we have to estimate water of quantity that would be lost to evaporation. Now question arises about Z2 and Z1. So Z1 we measure that just very close to surface at certain displacement, and we take this displacement because if we take Z1 as 0, then our answers are going to be not defined, at least in the real domain. So we say that at a very small displacement from the surface, that is equivalent to the surface roughness height, which we often take in few centimeters, around 15 centimeter and such, we can put this z naught as 15 centimeter, and we can put velocity as 0 meter per second at that height of surface roughness. Similarly, we can put an anemometer. It's a device that is used to measure velocity of air at a height of 2 meter. This 2 meter is a standard height that we encounter in hydrology, as the 2 meter velocities are usually free from the ground disturbances, because there would be obstacles or there may be a wave formation if we are taking measures over lakes or over ponds. So 2 meter is a good height to measure the wind speed, and we can measure this u2 into field and say that let us we observe the value as u2, which is known to us. Now we know everything in this expression. P is of course atmospheric pressure, K is one Newman constant which we take the value as 0.25, rho A is the density of air, and if you recall, we can always measure this rho A as P R star T, where T is a temperature in Kelvin, R star is the specific gas constant for air, where we assume molecular mass to be 29, and P is the atmospheric pressure, and in normal condition it can be assumed to be 101.25 kilopascal. In this equation, everything is known and it makes sense. So rather than worrying about the formula, if you see here that the greater is the difference between vapor pressure of air and vapor pressure just near surface of water, the potential or rate of vapor transfer would be higher, because then air is more thirsty and it will take up more water from the surface to quench its thirst. Similarly, larger is the difference in velocity, because we put u1 as 0 at z1 equal to z0. Larger is the velocity of air at certain height above the water surface. More and more water vapors would be pushed aside, making space for new vapors. So for example, in the diagram that we just started initially, so if this air is flowing at much higher velocity, all the vapors that would evaporate from surface, they would be moved aside very quickly, and that would keep this gradient of EAS minus EA intact for more and more evaporation to take place. In this equation, we also see that there is no term involving energy. So the one of the key limitations of energy of aerodynamic method is that we assume that here the limit is only happening because of the limit in potential of water vapors and velocity, and energy is available in abundance. Whereas in energy balance method, we assumed exactly opposite, that moisture supply and the gradient to maintain that constant chain is not a problem, but energy is a limiting factor. And when we will put all these methods together, you should be able to compare all these methods one to one. In beginning of our next video, we will solve one example before we move to the combined aerodynamic and energy budget method. Thank you.